From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
Help us on this little search, whereas we think his body is.
How a Billings family continues to hold on to hope as the search for a murder victim continues.
Stand up, fight back! Hey, hey, ho, ho!
Rallying by the hundreds, what Billings voices joined together to protest on May Day. Plus,
I came in to get my real ID.
it's that time, what you need to know to get your hands on a real ID before the deadline hits. Those stories and much more are coming up in the next hour. Good morning and welcome back to Montana This Morning on this Friday, May 2nd. I'm Charlie Klepps here with Miller Robson.
Good morning, Charlie, and good morning, everyone. TGIF, and I got to tell you, a beautiful start out there right now, Charlie. You can see it behind you there. Look at that.
Yeah.
Absolutely gorgeous. In fact, here's a better shot if we take it full screen. A beautiful start to your Friday. Gorgeous. And we got some really nice weather all the way, at least through Sunday afternoon. And then we start to possibly see some changes as we head into Sunday night into the early part of next week. And we'll tell you about those changes coming up. Yesterday, we did have a little bit of rain. Not a whole lot here in Billings, a lot of cloud cover out there. And then the sun came out later in the day. But our high is 63 and our low of 43, both above the norm. Top gust yesterday of 35 miles an hour. Still going to be somewhat breezy across the area through the weekend. But as we get into Sunday night into Monday, those winds will start to pick up with the passing of this system coming through. Was a dry start yesterday. We saw a few drops of rain, so we're in the hole to start the month. But we definitely have a chance to make up some ground the early part of next week. For the year, we're in fantastic shape right now. Waking up to temperatures 38 here in Billings, feels like 31. Winds out of the southwest at about 10 miles an hour across the area, mainly 30s as we start on our way to a weekend where some of us could hit the 80s, but where? We'll have details coming up.
Thanks, Miller. Gotta love having a nice weekend, right?
Yeah, and we all deserve it too.
It can be cold when we're at work next week, no worries.
Absolutely, but the weekend's looking good. Get out there and enjoy it.
Awesome. Thanks, Miller. Appreciate it. A missing persons case turned homicide has renewed one family's push for the truth this week. It first began over 1 year ago when Jesse Johnson went missing from South Billings. Now the family, which feared foul play from day one, is searching a 30-mile stretch along the Pryor Creek drainage where Billings police believe his remains may be found. Our David J. was on the scene yesterday as the family hopes to be one step closer to justice for Justy.
Jesse Johnson's family and friends search for his body close to Pryor Creek in Huntley.
They have an area now where we were lost at, where to find, but we continued on searching, but now I feel there's going to be a closure coming soon.
Jesse's mother, Emma Belrock Johnson, says it's too emotionally difficult for her to go on those searches. She's appreciative of any help in searching near the creek between Huntley and Pryor.
We're hurting really bad. You know, we just want closure. We want to lay him to rest. And how could people be so heartless?
Lena Ridehorse was the second mom for Jesse.
I'm very proud of him because he knew that it was time to grow up and start changing. Start being there, for his kids and start accomplishing things in life.
What can you share right now, if anything?
Nothing really, except for we never knew the area, so somebody has came up and spoken. This world has changed so much. And this thing called snitches, when it comes to somebody that is a human being and was worth on this earth, you tell them. Tell everybody what had happened.
The family is still looking for more information on Jesse Johnson. They do have a poster here attached to the light post next to the court where Jesse used to like to play basketball. And they say that was Jesse. He enjoyed having fun doing all kinds of things.
He was always a kind person.
He wanted to make people laugh. Three Stooges, Pee Wee Herman. He loved them all, man. He was that character.
And he always had that deep laugh.
Jesse was life. He was everything, He has a good sense of humor. He thought about people.
Now they wait on the search and the investigation. In Billings, David J., MTN News.
Billings Police Crash Team is investigating a serious crash involving an ATV in the Heights. It happened last night in the area of Hilltop Road and Agate Avenue when the ATV crashed and rolled over with a driver on board. We don't know the conditions of the driver at this time, but police say there were serious injuries. Hilltop Road was closed in both directions from Agate Avenue to Garnett Avenue, but is now back open for all lanes of traffic. A call to 911 for a possible overdose has now turned into homicide. Officers were called to the 1000 block of Wyoming Avenue on April 18th with 44-year-old Jesse Strack saying he believed his wife was overdosing. However, once at the hospital, medical staff discovered the victim to have injuries consistent with an assault. Strack was originally charged with attempted homicide, but the woman succumbed to her injuries last week. Officers determined the injuries sustained during the assault were contributing factors to the woman's death, and we will continue to follow this investigation as it develops. Turning to international news, the Sistine Chapel at the Vatican is being prepared for the selection process to begin to find the next pope. Crews installed the conclave chimney early this morning. Take a look. Cardinals are preparing to begin the process, gathering May 7th to choose Pope Francis's successor. Ballots will be burned as they begin narrowing down the pool from more than 200 cardinals who are eligible. 133 of them are expected to participate in the election process. As the pool shrinks, black smoke will come out of that chimney. When a new pontiff is finally chosen, white smoke will billow out instead. President Trump announced Thursday his national security advisor Mike Waltz is leaving his role, but the president said he is nominating Waltz as U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. He also announced Secretary of State Marco Rubio will be interim national security advisor. Weeks ago, Waltz inadvertently included a journalist on a messaging app group chat with top-ranking officials who discussed a military operation against the Houthis in Yemen. Nearly 200 people joined forces in downtown Billings yesterday, rallying against the Trump administration about everything from tariffs to immigration. It's all part of a nationwide trend of May Day protests, and in the main area of focus for several in Billings was Medicaid. They worry that cuts to Medicaid will not only affect patients but workers who provide in-home care. Our Isabel Sparts took in the 2-hour protest and has more.
Protests are happening all across the country on May 1st and even right here in Billings, where people are making their voices heard against proposed cuts to Medicaid.
Stacey O'Coin and David Summerfield decided to celebrate their anniversary a little differently this year.
Trampling the Constitution, and I never thought that we'd ever see something like that.
They joined in Thursday's May Day protest that focused on a multitude of issues.
Social Security, Medicaid. These are really important things. What happens when we don't take care of people who are needing it?
Over 160 people started at City Hall and marched to Senator Steve Daines Billings' office on 3rd Avenue. Protesters expressed their frustrations over proposed cuts to Medicaid, America's largest form of health insurance. But for Mother Doree Cole,
because Medicaid saves lives.
These proposed cuts have a personal impact.
The services of Medicaid are priceless.
Her son Taylor suffers from prudental neuralgia, and Cole has become his full-time caretaker and uses the assistance of a caregiver. Medicaid makes that service possible.
It's the difference between life and death for people who need these services.
She even traveled to Washington, D.C. with the Caregivers Union recently to share her son's story with Representatives Daines, Sheehy, and Zinke.
That personal touch, I hope, helps them to see the impact that these conditions can have on families, too.
In March, Governor Greg Gianforte signed House Bill 245, which renewed the expansion program for Medicaid in Montana. But the union is worried that the claims to cut waste, fraud, and abuse might reach Medicaid at the federal level.
Anything that happens in D.C. can still put that in jeopardy. So we have to stay vigilant in protecting that.
While President Donald Trump has said entitlements like Social Security and Medicaid will not decrease in the GOP's new budget bill, many in this group want to make sure people like Taylor never have to worry.
There's no right or left.
Americans.
In Billings, Isabel Sparts, MTN News.
Traveling can often be stressful. Starting Wednesday, May 7th, getting through airport security may become challenging for those without a real ID. The Transportation Security Administration, or TSA, will require passengers to present a real ID or another approved form of identification to pass through TSA checkpoints and enter federal facilities. As the deadline approaches, it's crucial for travelers to assess their ID status. Some reported wait times of up to a month at the Motor Vehicle Division. Terry Cranks was one of the many waiting at the MVD earlier this week.
I was told that it's a month out to get your
real ID. I thought a lot of people have gotten theirs already, but you know, a lot of people wait till the last minute.
Coming up in our next half hour, we'll break down what other options are available for those without real ID and what you can do to act now before the deadline. With the Montana Legislature's 69th session now officially at a close, lawmakers have begun to look back. MTN News gave them a chance to reflect on what they got done over the last 4 months and perhaps what they failed to push over the finish line. MTN's Jonathan Ambarian has more on what leaders from both parties saw as their successes and challenges.
After 85 working days, the Montana legislature ended up passing more than 800 bills, advancing them to Governor Greg Gianforte's desk. On Thursday afternoon, Gianforte held his first public bill signing after the session wrapped up, officially approving a slate of bills revising Montana's environmental laws in response to the held climate case ruling last year. The environmental bills were among the top achievements that House and Senate Republican leaders named when summing up the session. They also touted things like income tax reductions, funding for prisons, and standing up for conservative values on issues like transgender policy.
We do have a lot of accomplishments. I think the Senate, despite a lot of adversity, has really risen to the occasion.
Republican leaders made overhauling the judiciary a major priority this year and said the bills they passed started that process. But one of the biggest proposals, allowing judges to campaign with party labels, didn't move forward.
It was a push that, the majority of the caucus wanted. There was always a few, and respect their opinions, but I wasn't going to give up on it easy. So it was always kind of a ace in the hole. It just didn't quite play out.
Democrats pointed to the defeat of partisan judicial elections as one of their biggest goals for the session. They also celebrated things like investment in education and childcare, and particularly the extension of Medicaid expansion.
That sends a clear message to the governor and to Washington, D.C. Montanans expect and demand the health care coverage they get through the Medicaid program.
Democrats remained a minority, but held a larger share of legislative seats than last session, and leaders said that made a difference.
It has been because of the 12 more seats we've had in this building that Democrats have been able to bring these issues to the table, and the final product has been much better.
After a bill passes the legislature, it has to be signed by the Speaker of the House and the President of the Senate before it officially goes to the governor's desk. Gianforte will then have 10 days to either sign or veto the bills. If he takes no action, the bills will become law without his signature. In Helena, Jonathan Ambarian, MTN News.